Welcome into the Hannycast for Monday, February the 17th. I'm Charles Hannagriff, along with former Tiger coach Dan Canaveri. LSU wins the season opening series against Purdue Fort Wayne, 14-0, 10-1, 8-1. Dan, obviously, LSU the much superior team here, but what are some of the things you look for in this series that don't have anything to do with the opponent that caught your eye this weekend?
Well, I tell you, the biggest thing is the pitching this weekend was tremendous. Let's face it, everybody went out there, threw over 92 miles an hour, very limited walks, a lot of strikeouts. The fact that guys are throwing that hard and they're throwing 2 to 3 pitches over the plate, getting ahead in the counts. I mean, to me, that's impressive. It doesn't matter who the competition is because the pitcher really determines what goes on there. So I felt that was probably one of the greatest things we saw. I think you really evaluate how the players play in the game, how they react to balls. I think we saw that there's a lot of talent out there on the field. And so it was just impressive. But as you said, the opponent wasn't so great, but the opportunity to get out in front of a crowd and watch the guys play with emotion, I thought that was very good.
45 strikeouts and 2 walks is going to get anybody's attention. For me, the 2 walks was more impressive than the 45 strikeouts, if that's possible, because they did overpower a lot of these batters. But Dan, that plate's the same 60 feet 6 inches away, no matter who's standing there in the batter's box. You still got to throw strikes. Not only did they throw a lot of they didn't get behind in a lot of counts. I didn't see a lot of guys struggling with command.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, Charlie. What you're looking for, especially opening weekend, is command of the baseball. You want to make sure that we have it. And the fact that they punished the strike zone, but they did it with a couple different pitches. They got ahead in the counts, and they got in those advantage counts. Now, when you get to tougher competition, they're going to hit more balls. But walks kill you, in SEC competition and high-level competition. So the fact that you're punishing the strike zone and guys are throwing 95, I would take that any day as a pitching coach.
The other thing I noticed, and again, this is one of these regardless of competition things offensively, is, as Jay Johnson promised, they were more aggressive on the base path. Now, they got some guys thrown out, but we did see them – look, there were times last year where they'd go a game and a half and maybe start one runner. This time we saw – well, they stole 5 bases, but that's not really the point. They were more aggressive on the base pass. They were trying to take the extra base and not just sit back and wait for the 3-run homer. That's something that Johnson promised they would do. We got an early indication of that.
Right. He moved runners along. He tried to have some hit and runs put on. He moved some runners. They try to be aggressive on the bases. I think that's exciting baseball. I think he still got to 2- and 3-run homer, but with the speed, especially Stanfield, boy, is he fast. And boy, can he do a lot of things. But he's got a lot of great athletes on the field. So let's really go out there and use the athleticism, create some offense, create havoc. And the biggest thing is it distracts the pitcher and it disrupts the fielders because they know that they're going to take an extra base. They could steal on any pitch. And one of the things that we always felt when I was coaching with Skip is sometimes the threat of a steal is actually better than the steal itself.
Can I use the word pressure? You put pressure on the other guys.
Right.
I thought they did a good job of that this weekend. We're brought to you by MarucciSports.com, the Hitter's House at 5801 Segan Lane in Baton Rouge and 1801 Airline Drive in Metairie. Membership, 24/7 access to the members-only cages at the Hitter's House, bullpen cage reservation opportunities, 15% off the retail store as a discount, and, of course, all of the Marucci aluminum and composite bats all the way, the wood, the custom pro bats, the training, the souvenir bats, BB Core, USSSA T-ball, and a whole lot more. Founded and operated by current and former big leaguers, Marucci Sports. Go to the website, MarucciSports.com. All right, Dan, let's start with the game on Friday. Cade Anderson, we spent a lot of time talking about him last year as a future first-round pick. Last year, he was coming off the long layoff, didn't pitch his senior year in high school, but I thought he looked very sharp. He was about 93, 94 for most of this game, mixed his pitches well, only walked 1, struck out 8, and taking that Friday night role here early in the season, I thought Anderson got off to a great start.
Got off to a great start. And, again, a left-hander that's around the plate, he's tall. He's going to get better as the season goes along. He pitches more. He gets more timing. The fact is, Charlie, he's throwing 93, 94 miles an hour, okay? But the thing is, he's got a swing and miss fastball to go with a great curveball, which is a great combination. You see a lot of guys like they go out there and they throw 95, 96, but the guys see the ball and they seem to put the bat on it. His fastball, for some reason, and again, that's what makes baseball great, they don't see it well. And so his 93 seems like 99. And, perceived velocity is really a big thing.
How much of that has to do with the fact that he's coming from the left side and he's a taller pitcher?
There's some factor there, but there's something about in his motion that they don't see the ball out of his hand and pick it up. And that's a good thing. That's really a gift. Brett Laxton had that when he pitched for us. He seemed to have a fastball the guys didn't really pick up, so it seemed a lot faster than it was. That's the magic of baseball and magic of pitching. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you can't. Some balls you can hit better than others. Some pitchers can throw 97 and it's light. Some guys throw 93 and it's heavy. So, but Cade's got that gift, and I think Jay's recognized that, and so is Nate Yeski, and they're going to go with that. And kudos to Cade for having that.
The surprise to me in game number one was Kason Evans coming out of the bullpen. Not that he pitched well. We talked about him as one of the 8 or 9 guys that was going to be up there at the top that was going to be able to help them. But what surprised me, Dan, was the velocity. I did not expect him to come in there and throw 98 miles an hour. He's not an overly big guy. I thought he was a big surprise to me that he had that kind of velocity.
I'm telling you, Charlie, everybody on their staff throws only, it seems like they throw 93 or higher. That was a great performance. Let's see what he does as we move forward. If that velocity stays up, or if that was adrenaline velocity on opening day, can we continue that throughout the year? And that's important. I thought he had a really good outing, and that's a positive for Jane. The fact that he wanted to see him on a Friday night means that they saw him throughout the practice show that type of performance, and they wanted to see it under the Friday night lights.
I would say that maybe it was a little bit adrenaline. It was opening night. I get all opening afternoon. I get all of that. But he came out for a second inning and repeated the whole act. That velocity never dipped, and he was a lot of emotion out there. I didn't expect that out of him. He compared to Doug and the guys spent a lot of the weekend talking about how tall this baseball team is. As Skip said that too when he came on the broadcast on Sunday. Evans is not one of the bigger guys. He's a normal sized guy. He's about 6'2", about 190, 195 pounds. But he was throwing some absolute gas. And then I liked. We didn't spend much time talking in the preview about Cooper Williams, but he came in and finished up nicely. I thought he did a good job too.
Yeah, Cooper Williams, it's nice to see a lefty like that, show you something out of the bullpen. That's a plus for Jay and the staff, because as we mentioned in the show previously when we talked about the pitchers, there's not a lot of lefties. So if Cooper Williams can really take that role, that's going to be a big plus for the pitching staff.
We're brought to you by Dependable Storage with 8 locations in Louisiana and 1 in Gulfport, Mississippi. Dependable Storage will match any competitor's pricing with convenient online rentals and payments, free use of the moving truck for new rental move-ins, and clean, secure, and conveniently located facilities. For locations, pricing, and rentals, check out the website at dependablestorage.com. Like Skip Burtman always says, at Dependable Storage, we want your stuff. We're going to talk about the hitters, but we're going to go through the pitchers first. So I want to move on to game 2 here. And Anthony Ianson, who's a transfer from San Diego, it comes with a lot of credentials. He was a better than a strikeout an inning guy at San Diego. And I thought he pitched well in this game, Dan. Like most of the pitchers, he had good command. The slider, I thought, was by far his best pitch. I left the game Saturday. I want to ask you about this. When I left the game Saturday, I thought, he was just okay. He wasn't, because we saw some guys come in behind him throwing gas. We saw some high 90 stuff on Friday, and then we saw it again on Sunday. So after the weekend, I thought, Ianson really didn't maybe look as good. And then I thought, man, are you being too hard here? Are you comparing him to the 98 miles an hour? Because he's more like a 92 guy. What did you think of Ianson?
I think he's a guy that's got a high pitchability. I think one of the things, if you look at the way that Jay set up the rotation, let's face it, Chase Shores could be a Friday night guy. Wouldn't you agree, Charlie?
I think he's going to be a Friday night guy at some point.
Jade Anderson is a Friday night guy. So you're looking at, on Friday and Sunday, you're looking at 2 first-round draft picks potentially, and I'm talking about in the upper part of the first round, okay? Well, now you throw a guy like, Ianson in the middle. And so on a weekend, you see a hard throwing lefty that with a great breaking ball. Ianson, who's got a high pitch ability, not as high velocity, but going to move it around the strike zone. Again, he only had no walks and 6 strikeouts, only gave up 1 earned run, but he got 81 pitches in 5 innings. He's going to move the ball around. And then you come back with Chase Shores throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. So they don't get the same look. It's 3 different looks, but sandwiching Ianson in the middle might make him even more effective than if you pitched him in a Friday night role or in a Sunday night role, because it gets those hitters off balance.
Yeah, it looked like Doug and him kept calling it a splitter. That breaking pitch, whether you call it a splitter, a slider, something where it just really does break late. I thought it gave the guys some problems. And he pitched out of 1 jam when he had 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, got a little soft liner and got out of that mess. So I thought he did a nice job. Like I said, I didn't want to be too hard on him, comparing him to the guys that, just throw harder than he does, because I thought he did a nice job. Connor Binge was the surprise on Saturday to me. He was not a guy that we talked about a ton, but yet here's another guy comes out of the bullpen throwing 95 miles an hour, and it's like, wait a minute, we didn't talk too much about this guy, but if he's going to come out of the bullpen, throw 95 for strikes, then maybe we need to start talking about him a little bit.
Yeah, I think we got to start talking about him again. Coming out of the bullpen, throwing 95, being very, very effective. 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. We got to see if he throws enough strikes, but I got to come in and give you some lightning. And again, coming out after Ianson, that's a good matchup. That's a good mix and match by Jay and Nate Yeske to have a guy 92 painting around the plate, and then you bring in a guy throwing lightning bolts. That's a good mix, especially for one time through the order. They've seen Ianson for 4 or 5 innings, and now you bring in a guy like this, and they can't adjust in that one at bat.
The guy that most impressed me on Saturday was Maverick Rizzi. Now, we did spend a lot of time talking about him in the preview because we thought that he had a good chance to close. He's 6'9", which I believe is tops among LSU pitchers that I can remember. McDonald was about 6'7". I remember Brian Talent was about 6'7". Of course, Paul Skeens was about 6'6", but this guy may be the tallest, 6'9". So the first thing I think when I hear about a 6'9" pitcher, Dan, is the mechanics are going to be tough. A lot of moving parts. It's easy for a guy that tall, and you can speak to this, to get, kind of out of rhythm a little bit. Now, he only threw 9 pitches, but they were 96 to 97 miles an hour, and that motion looked fine to me. He's a real weapon. What did you think of Maverick Rizzi?
I like the motion. I like the composure. I liked everything about him. And Charlie, when there's a 6'9" guy standing on top of a mound, throwing the ball at you, that's scary for anybody, even college upper level hitters. So I think he's really, like you said, he really has a chance to be a weapon for LSU. Let's see how that unfolds. Let's see if he can repeat the motion and do it week in and week out. I think that's the biggest thing we've got to see. Can he do it every time out? Do we know what we expect from him?
When you get a 6'9" guy, when you watched him, it's 60 feet 6 inches, right?
Right.
When he releases the ball, where is it? About
it's 50 feet. It's almost 50, 53 feet. He's like Randy Johnson coming at you from the right side. Johnson was 6'10". It just shortens the distance. It's like he's throwing from 12U distance by the time he releases the ball. So it's unfair for a guy that tall at times.
And he's not thin. He is a well-built 6'9" guy. If he were on the basketball team, he would not look out of place. He's about 250 pounds. So we're talking about a physical guy. The 96 mile an hour fastball that he threw to strike out the last guy had a really nice bend run to it. So the fastball was not dead red in the middle of the plate. Here's what's exciting to me about him besides all of that is that after the game, Jay Johnson said, listen, you're going to see this guy 3 or 4 times in the next 5 or 7 games. I think I got my numbers right. He's going to pitch a lot. It almost seems like Jay is setting up here, Dan, to see if he can use Maverick Rizzi twice in a weekend and feel comfortable with that.
I think that's important. I think Jay's trying to find a guy that can do that for you. That helps you. You know, if you can come in on Friday and Sunday, then you find a guy, or you get your staff to get together on Saturday. So yeah, it's very, very important for that to happen.
We're brought to you by Lake Urgent Care, 25 years of experience dedicated to providing quality care close to home. They treat minor illnesses and injuries for ages 3 months and up at 17 convenient locations, including Baton Rouge, Hammond, Livingston, and Ascension Parish. Plus, they offer occupational health and weight loss solutions. As a seamless extension of Our Lady of the Lake, patients can access care from anywhere with the MyChart patient portal. Our urgent care centers are open 7 days a week. You can walk in, you can check in online, or schedule a virtual care visit at lakeurgentcare.com. We moved to Sunday, and two big, one return and one debut for LSU. Chase Shores, they had almost 23 months since this guy last pitched in a game. He's 6'8". He's 245 pounds. He throws 98, 99 miles an hour. But the first thing I wanted to see was the psychological effects of having been off that long. Number one, what was his command going to be like? Were the emotions going to get too much of him? And number two, how much would the velocity drop from the beginning of the outing to the end? Well, I'm going to let you talk about the psychological and the movement, but I can tell you that the last pitch he threw was 95 miles an hour, and the first pitch I recorded was 98, and I think he hit 99 a couple of times. So the velocity did not dip through 67 pitches in 5 innings. Now, you can tell me what his motion looked like and the psychological effects of coming off of an injury like that.
I think he's had enough time. His motion looked very good. He's repeating his motion on a regular basis. It looked like, of course, throwing the ball at 98 miles an hour. He wasn't afraid to let it go, and that's the one thing you look for. Can he let it go when he gets on the mound? Is he going to be a little tentative? He was not tentative at all. You worry about the command when they come back. Do they have a feel for the baseball? Definitely had a feel for the baseball. 7 strikeouts, no walks. You know, you're looking at 67 pitches over 5 innings. You're talking about 11 to 12 pitches an inning. That's very, very good to get 3 outs per inning. So I think everything that you were a little apprehensive about, I think was answered, that we're through that. And as the great Skip Burton would say, let's see if he does it 2 or 3 times in a row, and then we'll say it's in. And so the next outing, I think, is the most important one, to see if for all these pitchers, can they repeat what we saw? It was excellent as far as the performance of the pitch. The result of the pitching, that depends on the competition, but what they're actually doing and how they're throwing the baseball is what you're really looking at.
Then the debut of William Schmidt, the Catholic High product, who was very, very highly thought of and could easily be in professional baseball right now. He threw 2 2/3 innings. The first thing was that you just want to get him out on the mound and experience pitching in front of a crowd like that, a freshman, the way he is. Dan, we thought that he might be earmarked for some time down at Nichols on Wednesday because it was going to be a road game. I understand it's going to be like 28 degrees on Wednesday night, so I don't know if that game's in jeopardy or not. But they let him go a little bit. They let him throw 32 pitches, and he looked fantastic with 4 strikeouts and only allowed the 1 hit.
Yeah, I think he was outstanding. I really love his curveball. During the broadcast there, I had to text Doug Thompson because I said, I haven't seen a number 9 on the mound with that curveball since you were pitching. And so Doug's still my favorite number 9, but Schmidt has really got some great stuff. I thought that was a good outing for him. And again, Charlie, I like to see that. Let's see if he does it again. He looked very confident. One thing you always worry about as a coach, remember, the kid grew up in Baton Rouge. This is a dream of his to pitch at LSU. Is the stage going to be too big playing in front of your hometown, playing in front of your hometown fans, realizing the dream? And I think we saw that it wasn't. And again, that's a great sign for Jay and for Nate Yeske and the entire LSU baseball program.
What would you do with him next? Okay, so he goes out and he throws 32 pitches in relief, 2 2/3 innings. I'm just asking because he's a freshman. Do you bring him back for 2 more innings in the beginning of next weekend? Do you try to work him in an inning in the middle of the week? What's next for him?
He's got to go out and pitch again, possibly because, like you're saying, because of the cold weather, because they've got so many pitchers, they might extend some guys on Tuesday and Wednesday. But like you said, I think that game on Wednesday could be in jeopardy, could be moved back. So that has a lot to do with your pitching schedule. But you're going to see him out there this week at some point in time for the 2 to 3 inning stint and see how he does.
Yeah, you make a good point about the other pitchers because we didn't see Gavin Guidry this weekend. We didn't see Connor Ware this weekend. We didn't see um, Zach Cowan this weekend. So all of that, I guess part of that was that they are planning to have 2 midweek games, whether they have them or not with the weather in Thibodeau, I don't know. But they did need to save a couple of guys to get a little bit deeper into the game this weekend. We're brought to you by Bayou Apparel, helping local businesses communicate their message since 2009. One of only a few local LSU official licensees, Bayou Apparel offers the highest quality products to showcase your brand, whether it's established or new. Bayou Apparel design experts help you create and eye-catching designs that help your company's message. They do logos, event T-shirts, and promotional items for your business. Call 225-928-9090 or go to the website at bayouapparel.com. All right, let's. The team knocked the ball all around the yard this weekend. They hit 340, but let's kind of go through a few of the things that I wanted to ask you about. Let's start with Daniel Dickinson, the transfer from Utah State. I thought Utah Valley, excuse me. I thought he had a fantastic weekend. The homer might have been a little bit wind aided, but he stung the ball all over the park, Dan. And you want to talk about an extended bat, a hot bat at second base, which isn't always the best offensive position. Man, what a spark Dickinson had this weekend.
I tell you what, he's definitely a high-level Division I player, a great addition, great recruit by Jay Johnson. This kid's going to play in the big leagues, I think. I mean, I think he showed it. Moving him to second base instead of being at the shortstop, I think that's a good place for him. I think he's very comfortable there. But he plays with a lot of energy, too, and I think that's a great attribute. Great hitter, real good fielder, and I think he's definitely a guy that's going to make a difference this year.
Derek Curiel came with the most, preseason expectations. He was the number 2 player in California, the number 10 player in the country. Those are pre-college rankings that are similar to what Dylan Cruz was having coming out. And I hate to use that as an example because it's not fair to compare him to Cruz, especially, this part in his career. But Dan, you can speak to what you saw out of him. He just looks like a very polished hitter for somebody that was competing at the college level he had a homer in the series, but that wasn't even the most impressive part of the at-bats that he had. He just looks extremely confident and very polished for this point in his career.
Yeah, I think you have to look at him as he's not like your normal freshman. I mean, this kid is you can see why he was so highly ranked. You can see why he was going to be a high draft pick, and you can see why, again, there's a guy, in my mind, unless something happens, it's like Dylan Cruz. Like, he's going to be in the big league shortly after he's done at LSU. But very polished player, very confident player, has all the looks. I mean, he's a day in, day out left fielder, and I think you're going to see some great things from him. Just a really, really talented player.
You know what I like about him, especially? We spent a lot of the offseason. The question I got, like, who's going to protect Jared Jones in the lineup? Well, I don't know who's going to protect Jones. I did the first weekend, but I know that Jones is protecting Curiel, and I don't know how many fastballs he's going to see this season with Jones hitting behind him, but my prediction is plenty, and that's good.
More than he would if anybody else was hitting behind him.
So again, if Dickinson can hit behind Jones, Jones is hitting behind Curiel. It's a really nice middle of the lineup there. What'd you think of Stephen Milam at short? His first significant action there.
Yeah, Milam's going to get better and better each week he plays. Remember, he played that his whole life, and the fact that Jay made the move to keep him at short and move Dickinson over to second. I mean, Jay's got a lot of confidence. Jay's great with infielders. He's great at talent evaluation and putting his team together. So I think those pieces are in place. I think Milam's going to get better and better. And, of course, him being a sophomore, being at LSU, I think that adds a lot to the fact that I don't think he's going to go astray too much. He's going to stay right in that role and get better and better each and every week.
Also wanted to see how Michael Braswell did at third base. It's funny. I had a friend of mine asked me Saturday who missed the game Friday, said, what did Braswell look like at third? And I said, I don't think they hit him a ball the whole day.
Yeah.
And so he only had 3 chances this weekend, handled them cleanly. So we'll see a little bit more out of him. A good problem to have for Jay Johnson, Dan, is that he's got a crowded outfield. Jake Brown started the first 2 games. He had 3 hits. Ashton Larson started the game on Sunday. He had 3 hits, and he had 4 hits for the weekend. You forget that, Josh Pearson has played 160 college baseball games, 165 coming in to this weekend. He's basically been a 2-year full-time starter. He was an important piece on the national championship team. He made that game-saving catch against Florida. And he's fighting. All these guys are going to be fighting for at-bats along with Ethan Fry, who's the one right-handed bat in that mix. What does Jay – good problem to have, but what does Jay do here?
Skip and I were talking yesterday. We were talking about it. The biggest problem Jay Johnson has this year with this team is finding enough innings for everybody to play that's talented, especially in the outfield. Jay's got to rotate people around. The midweek games are going to be very important. I think one of the things Jay's going to look to do is kind of play the game and use guys based on their skill set in situations. So you may see more pinch hitting. You may see more defensive replacements. You may see him mix and match his outfielders depending on who's pitching or who comes in the game. So I think there's going to be a lot of moves in the lineup that way, not only to help increase the chances of winning, but also help to get players in the game that need to play.
We're brought to you by Dana Brown, the law offices of O.C. Brown. For over 30 years, Dana's been carrying along his father O.C.'s legacy. If you've been in an accident or if you've had any legal issues, you need to talk to the folks over at the law offices of O.C. Brown. The first consultation is always free, and they want to be your law firm for a lifetime. Call 343-1111 on the web. It's O.C. Brown, O-S-S-I-E Brown.com. And let me tell you, they are also in with the folks over at Town Square Pizza. The pizza's fantastic. I've been telling you about that. Go get the king cake. Trust me on this one, okay? Think about the pizza dough and that cakey, that very, very rich bread, except instead of pizza, it's king cake. Cano. I got one of these last week. It's phenomenal. Absolutely.
Put it in the microwave for 20 seconds.
Yes, okay. You get the flavor you want, but I had the cinnamon. Absolutely off the charts downtown at Town Square Pizza. We'll wrap up. Let me ask you what you thought of the guys behind the plate. LSU basically lost all of their catchers from a year ago. So you're breaking in Luis Hernandez, who didn't do a lot of catching at Indiana State, but is a very good bat. Cade Arambidi, who I think has got the best defensive potential of the group. We didn't see much of Priester this weekend, but I think we will during the week. What did you think of the catching?
I think the catching is very strong. I think with the 3 guys, you've got different types of players, for different situations. I think for sure, though, Arambidi is probably the best defensive catcher there. But Priester can swing it. He's a very capable catcher. And the same thing with Hernandez, who's getting better and better each time. Swings a good bat. So Jay's got a lot of options there. And again, the one thing about the catching position is one pitch can change a guy's career. You can get a bone chip, a fracture, a collision at home plate, and the next thing you know, you need somebody else. So to have 3 very competent and serviceable college catchers that have the potential to get better and better gives Jay a lot of confidence with what he's got behind the plate. Charlie, before we move on, though, the one thing I want to say is this. This might be the best defensive team that Jay's ever put on the field. The fact that you've got 3 guys that are shortstops playing in the infield, and then the number 1 prospect at first base who's improved over the last 2 years tremendously defensively. You've got 3 good catchers, and the fact you've got 7 to 8 guys that could start in any Division I Power 4 outfield means that what a great defensive team he's got. And throw that with pitchers that throw strikes and make the guys hit the ball, keep walks off the bases. That really, really, really makes a big difference over the long haul, and the fact that Jay's got a really good chance to win a lot of ball games because of that defense, pitchers throwing strikes, and the good catching core.
I'm with you on the outfield. I'm with you on the infield. I'm a little concerned about the inexperience at catcher. Your guys that, like I said, Hernandez did not catch very much at Indiana State, and Aaron Beatty's a freshman. I know that when they get into conference play, they're going to be asked to do more, and I'm not even worried about the bats because I think they've got enough bats. So the hitting, I'll say, it's the defense behind the plate. I want to see more. They just need to play more. The potential is there, so that would be my only question mark right now.
Yeah, they've just got to play, and the fact of the matter is, based on the pitching and the defense, you may not need a lot of catching on defense. The way the pitchers are throwing.
Yeah, well, in the first weekend, and again, listen, Purdue Fort Wayne was not supposed to be the opponent this weekend. They had to reschedule some things, so that happened a couple of places here in this non-conference schedule. So the schedule's not quite as thick as maybe they would like, but they have some games in Texas here in a couple of weeks that we'll get to see a little bit more, and they'll ramp up some. But in the meantime, there's a game with Southern at the Box on Tuesday, maybe a game with Nichols on Wednesday, although it's supposed to be frigid, and then Omaha comes in. How appropriate is that this weekend? That's the old UNO. Tiger fans remember the University of Nebraska Omaha. They just go by Omaha now. 4:00 on Friday, 2:00 on Saturday, and 1:00 on Sunday. For Dan Canaveri, I'm Charles Hannagriff. This has been the Hannycast.